Hey guys, welcome to this video. I am going to be taking you through an A+1202 performance-based question that you can find on CompTIA's website. If you go to CompTIA's website, go to performance-based questions on the official CompTIA website, they have a little simulation section where you can click on try a simulation performance-based question, and that's where I am now. I've opened that up. I've made a slight adjustment to this performance-based question to make it specifically relevant to the A+1202 exam. The original one was a little bit more complicated, so I've reduced some of that difficulty in order to only focus on the concepts that you will be tested on for your Core 2 to make it a little more useful for you guys. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you the step-by-step walkthrough of this performance-based question. I'm going to give you a chance to have a go at each question before I give you the answer. Then I'm going to explain that answer to you, and I'm going to tell you exactly step by step how we are actually getting through this. So it should not only be an example of what you can potentially expect, but also it should be a good learning experience for you so you can fill in some knowledge gaps too. Now, you may notice I have the actual question on the left and I then have my notepad open on the right. The reason I have my notepad open on the right is because on your exam day, you will have your computer screen, which is going to be represented by the left here, and then you will also be given a physical notepad to write in with a permanent or with a texter, a big white laminated sheet. I want to get you used to, as I have done in my most recent videos as well, using that laminated sheet of paper to take notes on information we gather as we go, so we don't find ourselves in a position of having to click here in order to remember what we just read because there was a key detail before we come back and do the answer. If we can systematically write down any important information, which I'll show you how to do that as we go along, you will speed through these performance-based questions a lot more quickly with a lot less stress. So if all that sounds good, let's go ahead and get started with this performance-based question. Now, we're going to start by reading over here to the left. It says, after experiencing attacks on its servers, Company A hired a cybersecurity analyst to configure a DMZ and increase security measures. Shortly after the network was reconfigured, an assistant on the second floor reported that one of the executives could not access the internet, more specifically, https CompTIA.org. So it's given us a specific website. All right. So it's worth taking note of that. So I'm actually just going to write down over here, cannot access CompTIA.org. And you're going to see why I've done that in a second. For now, hang in there with me. They go on to say, however, he said they can send internal email, use the intranet, and print on the local area network printer. So in other words, it looks like one of these workstations, which are the only ones that are actually clickable, nothing else here is clickable as we can see. We can only click on the workstation 1, workstation 2, and the router here. One of these workstations can access the local area network, but they cannot access anything outside of that. They are stuck in that intranet. So initially, my thought process is maybe they have failed to find a DHCP server, because remember, if you can't find a DHCP server, what kind of IP address do you get? You get a PIPA address, which means you can only communicate within that local area network. But let's read on to see what exactly they want us to do. The specific instructions here say, check the IP addresses and test the connectivity to CompTIA.org on each workstation. Okay, so they've already given us some instructions. So now what I know I need to do is check IP of each workstation and test connectivity to CompTIA.org. That's what I'm going to need to do. Use that information to ensure that the access control list, or ACL, is properly configured to allow all workstations access to the internet. Okay, that's pretty self-explanatory. The router's ACL implements an implicit deny. What does an implicit deny mean? Real quick, have a think about that. Pause the video, have a think, get an answer in your head. I'm going to tell you in 3, 2, 1. An implicit deny means that if there is not a rule listed to allow a particular protocol or a particular port, then it will be denied by default. So you must have an allow rule present. Now, they go on to say, only make changes to correct the connectivity issue. We don't want to make any additional changes, okay? If at any time you would like to bring back the initial state of the simulation, please click the Reset All button. Okay, so look, I've really gotten my primary goals here. Check the IP of each workstation, test the connectivity to CompTIA.org, and then we just want to make sure that we also know that we then have to identify essentially which workstation is being discussed here. And then when we find that, go to the router and use the information we've gathered to change the router ACL to allow all workstations to access the internet. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Our first goal now, you can see why I've written it down over here, because over to the left, our instructions have now disappeared. So you see, if I didn't write all that down over here, I would be stuck having to go, oh, what do I have to do again? Okay, show question, come back over here, read it, click over here, right? And it disappears. But because it's always here permanently, which would be on your laminated sheet, you don't have to worry about that. Okay, so let's go to Workstation 1. It opens up the command prompt. Notice here, guys, there is absolutely no multiple choice options to choose from. Okay, sometimes in my performance-based questions that I make for you guys, I do ones where there's no options to choose from. We just have an empty command prompt. What do we have to do? We have it written down over here. The first step is to check the IP of each workstation. Okay, so we've opened up Workstation 1. What command do we use to check the IP address of this current workstation? Pause the video and have a think. While you do that, I'm going to type it in, but I'm going to start by blurring it. I'm going to blur that command and I'm going to get this output. Okay, which command gives me this output? Your answer coming in 3, 2, 1. That's right, it's ipconfig. Ipconfig will tell you your IP address, your subnet mask, and your default gateway. Okay, it will give you all of those details. And now, guys, we have some information for Workstation 1. So, Workstation 1, the IP address is 192.168.0.68. Okay, so we have successfully checked the IP of this workstation. We now need to test connectivity to CompTIA.org. What command do we use to test connectivity to CompTIA.org? A simple connectivity test. We're not trying to find out any additional information, just can we reach it? 3, pause the video and have a guess, have a think, write it down. 2, 1. That's right, we're going to type in ping CompTIA.org. Whoops, I didn't click on the window. Ping CompTIA.org. And that's going to give us some output, which will say we either can or cannot reach this. And it's told us that we have not lost any packets. We have successfully been able to connect to CompTIA.org, which means Workstation 1 is not the one that we need to worry about. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the same thing for Workstation 2. I've typed in ipconfig and it's told me that my IP address here is, oh, can I copy and paste across? I can't. Okay, my IP address is 192.168.0.82. Now, can I reach CompTIA.org? Let's have a look. Okay, I cannot. The request is timing out and I've lost all 4 packets that I have sent, meaning Workstation 2 is in fact the one that cannot reach CompTIA.org. So cannot reach CompTIA.org. So Workstation 2 is the one that we are going to need to somehow make it so that we can change the access control list as per the instructions. Hey guys, this video is sponsored by the A+ Core 1 and Core 2 Ultimate Learning Guide. This learning guide has helped many people pass their Core 1 and Core 2 exams, meaning that they can move on to their Network Plus and Security Plus sooner rather than later. In the learning guide, here's what you will get. Detailed notes, revision notes, active recall questions, and multiple choice questions for every single exam objective. 3 full-length practice exams with performance-based questions, a document with performance-based questions, a video showing you exactly how to study using multiple choice questions so you will be moving ahead of 99% of other people at a much faster rate because you are studying more effectively. A video giving you test taking tips in case you get stuck on a question in the exam. A video showing you how to use free AI tools to 10 times your study sessions. And best of all, I want this to be accessible to everyone regardless of your economic position, so I've made it extremely affordable. So if this sounds good to you, you can head over to journeytocyber.com and grab your A+ Core 1 or Core 2 learning guide today. Right? As we've written down over here, so we don't have to go back, have a look to remember what we need to do. We need to do something in the access control list to make sure that Workstation 2 can in fact reach the internet. All right, so let's go ahead and go on the only other clickable option, which is the router. The router tells us our interfaces here, so we can have a look at the interfaces. This is a bit more of an advanced topic, I think, for your Core 2. Don't worry so much about this. I'm just going to go to the access control list and make it super relevant for the A+ Core 2 exam. All right. here is my adjusted access control list of rules for the ACL. Here is the new ACL that I've created to make it specific to the Core 2. The original one was a little bit more network plus, security plus level of knowledge. Here we have only the A plus Core 2 level of knowledge that you would be expected to have. So have a look at these rules. What can we do to change this? Note that the only thing we can do is click on these X's. So considering that we only want to change enough rules to allow Workstation 2 to reach CompTIA.org, what should we do? Pause the video and have a guess. Which ones or one do we close? Your answer coming in 3. Make sure you pause that video. 2, 1. That's right. It is going to simply be this rule here, which says IP address 192.168.0.82, which is the same IP address as our Workstation 2, which is the one that we need to be able to reach the internet, which currently cannot. The rule is set for any, deny. So basically anything coming from this particular IP address is going to be denied by default. And we definitely don't want that to be the case. So if we can get rid of that rule, that will mean that it will then be able to reach the internet. So let's go ahead, and this is the non-adjusted version, but I'm going to do it just so that we can see the output of the performance-based question. Okay, we're going to cancel that, and then we're going to close that. Now we have actually completed all of the tasks that have been asked of us to do. Now on the exam day, you'll find yourself in a situation where you've done it all, you're pretty sure you're done, but you might find yourself second guessing, right? Have a quick check, but it's really important that at the beginning, we actually wrote down exactly what we needed to do. So long as we've completed each of those, we can confidently say we are done, and we can then submit that answer. Calculating our score, we got 4 out of 4. Fantastic. Now, here's a couple of tips as to where we could have gone wrong if we rushed. Okay, I'm going to go back and I'm going to show you how we may have potentially not gotten 4 out of 4 for this exam if we were rushed too much. What were the specific instructions? It said, check the IP addresses and test the connectivity on each workstation. Now that sounds pretty self-explanatory, but imagine if we went to Workstation 2 first, we did ipconfig, we pinged CompTIA.org successfully, finding out that that's the wrong one. Now, if we got too excited, we might then think, hey, I just found out which one is the problem workstation. So I'm going to come over to the router. I'm going to go to the access control list. I'm going to change that rule. And then I'm going to submit. Oh, I only got 3 out of 4. Why? Because we completely forgot to test both. The specific instructions said check the IP address and test connectivity on each workstation. Read those instructions carefully, because that would have been an easy way to get tripped up. But look guys, I hope you have enjoyed this video. A little different from usual. Normally I give you performance-based questions that I make myself, but in this video I ran you through the official practice CompTIA performance-based question on their website and adjusted it so that the knowledge level was only for the A+ Core 2 exam. Let me know what you thought of this one. Let me know if this made sense to you. But look, I think this question really demonstrates that you need to have a solid understanding and not be relying on multiple choice options, because in both of these workstations, there's no options to choose from. You would have just needed to know off by heart which commands are able to achieve the task that you need to achieve. So look, I'll see you in the next video, guys. Let me know if you found this useful, if you found this helpful, and make sure that if you do want to get your hands on my learning guide, you click the link in the description below or the pinned comment below as well, if you want to make sure that you have the one resource you need to pass this exam and get ready for all this stuff. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.